My son's in-laws called me just a janitor at the rehearsal dinner. They never asked what I cleaned for 30 years. My name is Walt Higgins. I'm 60 years old. I've lived outside Columbus, Ohio my whole life. For 30 years, my company has cleaned the Franklin County courthouse and the district attorney's offices 5 nights a week, floor by floor, room by room. I know exactly what gets left behind in a wastebasket after everyone else has gone home for the night. If you're new here, hit subscribe, tell me in the comments where you're watching from tonight, and get comfortable. This one earns its ending. The rehearsal dinner was at a steakhouse downtown with dark wood paneling and a wine list longer than my company's client roster. My son, Danny, sat beside his fiancée, Bree, glowing the way a young man glows when he thinks his whole life is about to click into place. Her father, Roger Callahan, owns Callahan Construction, the kind of outfit with its name on half the cranes downtown and a habit of reminding you about it. Roger stood to make a toast, glass raised, already 3 bourbons in. To family, he said, to hard work, to building something that lasts. Then his eyes landed on me, and something shifted in his voice, the way a man's voice shifts right before he decides to be cruel in public and call it a joke. And to Walt here, who I understand keeps things tidy for a living. Janitor, right? Well, every family needs someone who knows how to clean up a mess. Laughter rippled around the table, the kind that costs the laugher nothing. Danny's jaw tightened. Bree stared at her wine glass. I raised my glass along with everyone else and said, "That's right, Roger, just a janitor." I let the sentence sit there exactly the size he wanted it to be. I want to tell you I felt anger. Mostly, I felt the old familiar tiredness of being reduced to a job title by a man who'd never once asked what that job title actually meant. I thought about the night 30 years ago when I signed that first courthouse contract, 29 years old, 3 employees, a used floor buffer I'd bought second-hand and rebuilt myself in my garage. My late wife, Carol, had sat up with me at our kitchen table that night, going over the numbers, terrified and proud in equal measure, telling me we could actually make this work. She never once called what I did small. She used to say a building only runs as well as the people nobody notices keeping it running, and she said it like she meant every word, because she did. Here's what Roger Callahan never bothered to learn about me in the 18 months Danny and Bree had been dating. I don't push a mop myself anymore, not for years now. I own Higgins Facility Services, 41 employees, contracts across 3 counties, and for 30 years, one of those contracts has been the Franklin County Courthouse Complex, including the district attorney's offices on the 4th floor. You don't hold a courthouse contract that long without a full background check every renewal cycle, without the DA's own investigators knowing your face better than they know some of the attorneys. You also don't clean an office building for 3 decades without noticing things. Judges leave case files open on desks sometimes. Attorneys argue in hallways they think are empty at 9 p.m. And every single Tuesday and Friday, my crew also services Callahan Construction's downtown offices, a contract I'd taken on 2 years before Danny ever met Bree, long before I knew the Callahan name would mean anything to my family at all. That Tuesday, after the rehearsal dinner, one of my crew, a kid named Marcus who's worked for me 6 years, flagged something in the Callahan's 3rd floor conference room. A shredder bin, overflowing, badly fed, strips wide enough to still read words on. Marcus does this without asking. He knows the drill by heart. Photograph anything that looks like it shouldn't be in a public trash stream. Don't touch it. Don't take it. Just document and move on. That's how you keep a 30-year contract clean. He sent me the photos out of habit, same as always. I almost didn't look. Then I did. Partial pages, county bid numbers, a commissioner's name I recognized from the courthouse hallways, and a dollar figure that didn't belong anywhere near a legitimate construction bid. I sat at my kitchen table that night with my reading glasses on, looking at torn strips of paper on a phone screen, and felt something cold settle in my chest. This wasn't proof of anything yet. It was a thread. But 30 years around, that courthouse teaches you what a thread looks like right before someone pulls it. I didn't call Roger. I didn't call Danny. What was in that trash bin was already legally abandoned, discarded property. Nothing my company had done wrong by photographing what was already thrown away in a space we were contracted to service. I called Denise Okafor instead, a longtime assistant DA I'd known for 11 years, ever since she was the newest attorney on the 4th floor working nights while my crew vacuumed around her desk. "Denise, it's Walt. I need to show you something, and I need you to tell me if it's nothing or if it's something." She looked at the photos for a long moment over coffee the next morning. "Walt, where exactly did this come from?" "Legally discarded trash, public contractor's office. My crew services the space under a stand-in commercial contract. Nothing was searched, nothing was taken from anywhere private. It was already in the bin." "That's exactly what I needed to hear," she said. "Now, I need you to not mention this to anyone else." I didn't sabotage Roger Callahan. I made one single phone call to a public official and showed her exactly what my own employee had lawfully documented in the ordinary course of business. Everything after that belonged to the county, not to me. The bid rigging investigation moved slow and quiet for 2 months, the way these things do when they're being built right instead of rushed. Then it wasn't quiet anymore. County investigators executed a search warrant on Callahan Construction's offices on a Thursday morning. The same conference room Marcus had photographed, the same shredder bin. The commissioner named in those torn strips resigned within the week, under a cloud that grew darker by the day. Roger's company lost its standing to bid on any county project pending the outcome, which for an outfit that size meant nearly half its active pipeline evaporating overnight. Danny called me that Thursday evening, voice unsteady. "Dad, Callahan Construction got raided. Bree's a wreck. Do you know anything about this?" I didn't lie to my son. I never have. My crew found something legally discarded in a wastebasket during a routine cleaning contract, and I showed it to someone at the DA's office whose job it is to look at things like that. What the county does with it isn't mine to control. Silence, long enough that I could hear him breathing on the other end. "You could have told me." "I told the person whose job it was to know," I said. "That's different from staying quiet, Danny. I've never once stayed quiet about anything that mattered." Roger was indicted 4 months later on bribery and public contract fraud charges. He never looked at me again after that. Not once. Not even the day Danny and Bree finally got married in a small backyard ceremony, quieter than the one Roger had originally planned, paid for by nobody's pride but their own. Bree still talks to me most Sundays now, without fail. She apologized once, unprompted, for the toast, for years of small comments before it that I'd simply absorbed the way you absorb weather. I told her I wasn't interested in apologies so much as whether she'd start seeing people clearly going forward, her father included. I still run Higgins Facility Services, still show up some nights myself, just to keep my hands in the work. Mop in hand, same as 30 years ago. Marcus made shift supervisor last spring, and I made sure he knew exactly why in front of the whole crew, so nobody in that room ever mistakes quiet diligence for something small again. I keep a framed photo in my office now, not of anything fancy, just my crew standing outside the courthouse on our 10th anniversary holding that contract, all of us grinning like it was the biggest deal in the world. It was. People will hear your job title and decide that's the whole of who you are. Let them decide it. Some of us have spent 30 quiet years holding the keys to rooms they'll never once be trusted to walk into alone. And that's a kind of wealth no toast can ever take away. I'm the janitor from the rehearsal dinner toast, exactly as Roger described me. I'm also the man who's cleaned that courthouse long enough to know precisely which door to knock on when it matters most. If you stayed with me all the way to the end tonight, hit that like button, subscribe so the next story finds you, and tell me in the comments exactly where you're watching from. Take care of each other out there, especially the quiet ones nobody bothers to ask about.